Gracias por su fiel sintonía. El día de hoy tenemos bastante información para usted en casa. Cordialmente le saluda Odalis Gaitán.
Y también le saluda Germán Lechuga. Estas son las noticias cuando más las necesita. Esto es News Ahora.
Después de meses de clausura ocasionado por la pandemia, las fronteras norte y sur de los Estados Unidos abrirán a principios de noviembre. La administración Biden anunció que levantarán las restricciones de viajes esenciales para los visitantes que están completamente vacunados. Sin embargo, los nuevos requisitos indican que Estados Unidos no dará la bienvenida a individuos que no estén vacunados y continuará siendo rechazados a la hora de querer entrar. Esto marcará una nueva fase de turismo y recuperación después de dichas fronteras estuviesen cerradas por 19 meses.
As esports make their return amongst COVID concerns, a different field of competition called esports is making its way through campus. Trent Helmer took time to find out more about what esports is and learn about some of the people behind it. Here at MSU, let's take a look.
The date is October 19th, 1972. Students of Stanford University gathered to play against each other in a game known as Space War. While that day was nothing more than a competition amongst friends, this would be the first instance of an esports event. Fast forward to 2020, with a stadium filled with tens of thousands of people and millions more watching through live streams as opening ceremonies are performed. Esports has quickly become a popular form of entertainment in the new age, but what exactly is esports? What does competitive gaming have to do with MSU and its campus? Turns out, MSU actually has a club dedicated to it. I sat down with Elliot Livo, president of MSU's Esports Club, along with David Lamotte, the assistant director of sports and the manager of campus recreation. I asked him the first question that comes to mind for people who are new to the scene. What is esports?
So esports is, well, the simplest definition is electronic sports, right? It's video games. I call it video gaming for money.
While some would argue that esports is not popular, there are actually statistics to argue the opposite. In 2019, there were 100 million people who watched the League of Legends World Championship at some point, with a peak of 44 million people watching at just one time. So now that we know what esports is, what does this mean for the future? Some schools offer scholarships to players who excel at certain games, allowing them to attend school on the same basis as student athletes. But this now brings forth a new question. Do people consider esports a sport? Even in the school's newspaper, some would argue that those who compete through esports are not athletes. Meanwhile, Mr. Lamotte begs to differ.
And there's kind of a big disconnect between, as Elliot was mentioning, like the physicality of a traditional sport, something like a baseball or a football team, right? And so my kind of rebuttal to that is a few points. One point, your brain's a muscle, right? And so if it's just caloric burn from a muscle equals a sport, then yes, esports is a sport.
Mr. Lamotte goes on to give a couple more reasons, including the fact that players can sustain injuries just like any other athlete and suffer from things such as tendonitis and eye strain. For those curious on how they can become a part of the club, visit the campus recreation page on MSU Denver's website and scroll down to Club Sports. From there, you will see a tab for esports where you can join their Discord page or email David Lamotte himself.
With the rise of esports not only at MSU Denver's campus, but throughout the nation as well, it's very interesting to see where this phenomenon will go.
The cause of death of the 22-year-old aspiring influencer Gabby Petito was announced this past Tuesday by the Wyoming coroner. The Tenton Country coroner, Dr. Brent Blue, announced a news conference that Petito was strangled by human force 3 to 4 weeks prior to their body being found on September 19th. As many of you know, Petito and her fiancé, Brian Landry, were both traveling on a cross-country trip that took them to states such as Colorado, Utah, and others. Petito was reported missing by her parents on September 11th after receiving the no returned communication. Landry is considered a person of interest in Petito's disappearance, but he has not been charged in the death. His whereabouts remain unknown as of Tuesday afternoon.
En más noticias de nuestro estado, La Organización de Promoción y Investigación del Liderazgo Latino de Colorado, junto con la Liga de Ciudadanos Latinoamericanos Unidos, exigieron que bloquearan el nuevo mapa del Congreso de nuestro estado. Según varios grupos activistas, el mapa ofrece varias desventajas a los residentes latinos que residen en el estado. Estos grupos pidieron a la comisión que trazara el mapa de una manera que permitiría a grupos a los votantes latinos en un área solamente. Según los líderes de tales organizaciones, la población latina no constituye una mayoría o incluso por popularidad en ninguno de los distritos. Cabe resaltar que la comisión no ha respondido al llamado del viernes pasado.
Teenagers in Fort Collins broke the first rule in Fight Club. Now police are warning about them being organized by teenagers that are taking place in the city's parks. According to police, teenagers are using social media apps to communicate about the locations and share footage. The first incident under investigation took place at the end of August. Another happened in the middle of September. A recent gathering of about 20 teenagers on October 7th led to an arrest for a minor in possession of alcohol, but no arrests were made for fighting after no minors admitted to engaging. The Fort Collins police not know why the gatherings have taken place in the community, but have increased patrol in the city parks for prevention. They encourage teenagers and residents to submit anonymous tips at Safe to Tell or call 911 under suspicious activity.
El día de hoy se termina el mes de la herencia hispana y tuve la oportunidad de asistir al evento I Love My Undoku Queer People con el fin de culminar las celebraciones realizadas en nuestro campus. Veamos.
MSU Denver, CU Denver, CCD, junto con la Oficina de Servicios para los Inmigrantes, el Centro de Recursos LGBTQ Estudiantil y el Instituto de Género para el Aprendizaje y Abogacía se unieron para honrar la comunidad LGBTQ latina. El evento I Love My Undoku Queer People celebró la intersección de las identidades como ser queer e indocumentado en el país.
El hecho de que estamos tomando el tiempo para resaltar esta comunidad es algo increíble. Espero que podamos realizar más eventos sobre ser documentado, ser queer, ser refugiado. Estoy muy emocionado sobre lo que podemos hacer para celebrar más identidades en el futuro.
Las artistas locales drag queens Jimena Latinx Couture y Ariana Latinx realizaron una presentación llena de música y baile, y el poeta conocido a nivel nacional, Yosimar Reyes, estuvo presente, quien narró su experiencia como un inmigrante indocumentado y gay a través de su prosa y humor.
Comencé a escribir a los 16 años porque estaba confundido sobre estas identidades que personifico. Ahora a los 33 años me emociona que puedo celebrar nuestros colores, vibras y experiencias y que puedo presentarlas a las personas que pueden sentirse identificados.
Tuvieron la oportunidad de disfrutar de la diversidad dentro de la comunidad LGBTQ e indocumentada y honrar la cultura latina. Para News Ahora, Valeria Quiroz.
In other news regarding our state, the Colorado Latino Leadership Advocacy and Researchers Organization, along with the League of United Latin American Citizens, demanded a block to the new congressional map of our state. According to several activist groups, the map offers several disadvantages to the Latinx residents residing in the state. These groups asked the commission to draw the map in a way that would allow Latinx voters to be grouped in one area. According to the leaders of such organizations, the Latinx population does not compose a majority or even popularity in any of the districts. The commission has not responded to the feeling from last Friday.
Dave Chappelle, one of the most prolific comedians in America, is under fire for some recent comments made about the transgender community on his latest Netflix special. Reporter Gregorio Gonzalez has his first part of this intriguing story.
What is the impact of Dave Chappelle's newest stand-up special? For more insight, we asked Tyrell Allen, pronouns she, her, they, them, director of the LGBTQ Student Resource Center.
Whenever he talks about his understanding or perception of the gay community or the LGBTQ community, he talks about us as if we are all white, right? And part of the problem with that is that it renders people like me who are black and trans or black and queer invisible. And to be clear, it's not that, you know, Dave Chappelle is sending some mass instruction to all black men to act a certain way, but I think those figures doing that behavior in some ways makes it okay when men in my life are overly aggressive with me or violent with me.
And then I spoke with...
So I'm Dr. Maria Otazo. I'm a family medicine physician, and I specialize in transgender medicine. I've been practicing medicine for about 7 years.
About this statement.
Gender is a fact. This is a fact. Every human being in this room, every human being on earth had to pass through the legs of a woman to be on earth. That is a fact.
There's a lot to unpack there. There are two fundamental concepts that we need to address to kind of understand the statement. Number one is that of gender, and the other is of biological sex. I think often these two concepts are mashed together, but they're actually completely different. Each gender is made of a number of norms, basically, and expectations for how a person within each gender is, you know, supposed to act, dress, even how they communicate with the world. And then we have biological sex. So biological sex is actually a really complicated topic, but for the sake of simplicity, biological sex is basically characterized by your reproductive organs and external genitals. And so I think unfortunately, I think his statement is misinformed at best.
For News Ahora, this is Greg Gonzalez.
This past year, a record of 110,000 people around the country have moved to different states. According to Forbes, Colorado captivates new residents due to its fast job growth, which is the second highest in the U.S. It is known that the state has a 41% with the second highest level of education attainment, and its population age averages from 25 to 34 years old. Colorado also has a migrating population that attracts its robust economy and outdoor recreational opportunities.
In other news, President Joe Biden personally called a hospital after a friend of his was unable to get into a surplus of COVID-19 cases. During a speech held in Elk Grove, Illinois, President Biden told the story of his friend, who was experiencing COVID-like symptoms. She was struggling to breathe and had a high fever, which led to her being rushed to the hospital. However, the hospital was completely full and she was not able to be admitted. As a result, Biden counts how he got involved.
And they got her into the hospital, but the waiting room was so crowded, things were so backed up, they couldn't even get her to be seen initially. So because I knew this person, I called the desk, the receiving nurse, and asked what the situation was. And has anyone even, and by the way, I wasn't complaining because they're getting the living hell kicked out of them, by the way.
It doesn't treat whether or not the call to the women being admitted ahead of others. However, many claim it was a kind of gesture coming from the president.
This past week, the World Health Organization endorsed the globe's first ever malaria vaccine. On October 6, the organization released the recommendation for the RTS malaria vaccine to be used for prevention against malaria in sub-Saharan Africa and other at-risk regions. The WHO Regional Director of Africa, Dr. Machizo Mori, responded to the announcement by saying today's recommendation offers a glimmer of hope for the continent which shoulders the burden of the disease, and we expect many more African children to be protected from malaria. The vaccine is a result to 30 years of research and will be used for prevention against the deadliest malaria parasite that is also the most widespread in Africa.
Hello, this is Alex Petrich, and today I bring you some of the top sports news of the week. The Denver Nuggets preseason games have raised a lot of red flags, losing 3 straight games by less than 3 points each. On Monday, October 4th, the Nuggets took on the Los Angeles Clippers in LA. The biggest upside of this game was that Michael Porter Jr. looked wonderful, like he's ready to be the second scoring option on a contender. But final score, 103-102. On Wednesday, October 6th, we get our first Nikola Jokic sighting, taking on the Warriors in San Francisco. Joker looked like he never left, still performing at the level that nabbed him the MVP last season. He put up a modest 17 points and 10 rebounds, but final score 118-116. 2 days later on Friday, October 8th, in Denver taking on the Timberwolves, the story of the night was rookie Nashawn Bones Highland. He put up 21 points, including a huge three-pointer near the end of regulation, but Nuggets lose in overtime 114-112. To wrap it up, this Wednesday, the Nuggets took on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jokic gave it his all, even as the other starters struggled, especially Aaron Gordon and Will Barton, who shot a combined 6 for 22. Final score, 108-99. There is one ray of hope since last night. We beat the Thunder in overtime 113-107. The season starts on the 20th. Altering our attention from national sports to international, we take a look at the soccer team in Europe, who may be crowned as the new rich kid on the block. Newcastle United. The team based off Newcastle upon Tyne in the United Kingdom has new owners. After an 18-month holdback, Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund are the new owners of the English club. According to Sky Sports, the deal was worth around a margin of 300 million euros. PIF, who are the new holders, have a collective wealth of $700 billion, making Newcastle United the richest club in the world, with Manchester City coming in second with $17 billion. For our last story, several women from the National Women's Soccer League have proclaimed accusations against the delegation. Our reporter Germán Lechuga tells us more.
La National Women's Soccer League es la liga más competitiva y profesional en los Estados Unidos. La comisionadora Lisa Bird ha renunciado tras irresponsablemente manejar la situación de abusos en la liga. En los más recientes días ha habido declaraciones contra la National Women's Soccer League de parte de las jugadoras de la liga, proclamando acosos sexuales y maltrato de pago. Estrellas como Alex Morgan han salido a apoyar a sus compañeras de profesión. Otras jugadoras como Mana Shim y Sinead Farrelly, quien juegan en la liga, respondieron sobre la situación y las acciones tomadas.
Sí, es una mezcla de cosas. Quiero más justicia, quiero mejores políticas, quiero que las jugadoras estén protegidas y al mismo tiempo siento que estamos en el camino correcto y estoy agradecida por todos los que
Me ha impresionado y realmente he sentido que le he dado un propósito a mi dolor. Y eso ha sido una liberación para mí que no he podido sentir durante casi 10 años. Estas mujeres, Maná y Alex, y un par de otras mujeres con las que trabajamos, y cada persona que se ha acercado y mostrado apoyo, ha convertido este momento en un movimiento.
Richie Berkey, entrenador del Washington Spirit, fue despedido después de una investigación sobre varios abusos contra mujeres referentes al equipo, al igual que el ex entrenador del North Carolina Courage, Paul Riley. La liga ha sido afectada seriamente, con equipos a igual que jugadoras demandando que se haga justicia. Soy Germán Lechuga para News Ahora.
That's all I have for the world of sports today. Get ready because it looks like we're time to travel into another dimension with EMET, right after commercials.
What's poppin', what's goody, what's lit? This is Reese Lewis here to give you your entertainment news. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get started, shall we? Over the summer, the History Colorado Center has added 2 exhibits showcasing the history and glory of Denver urban neighborhoods under the museum initiative, Building Denver. MSU Denver alumni and street photographer Armando Ginetto has put together an art installation in the form of photographs titled Brick and Soul. And the installation is a collection of photos taken between 2016 through 2020 as it showcases modern-day Denver within the 5 Points neighborhood, local events, North Denver's lowrider culture, and surrounding neighborhoods. Pictures also display riots from last year at the Capitol and the residents and many subcultures that shape its meaning and gives urban Denver a purpose. You can check out this exhibit at the History Colorado Museum located near North Broadway and West 12th Avenue within downtown Denver. Spooky season is in the air, and what better way to get your Halloween spirit going with these 3 classic, funny, yet scary movies. Hocus Pocus is still one of the first family classics in popular Halloween movies. With the recent announcement that there will be a sequel scheduled to launch next year, it would be great idea to watch and refresh your memory. However, if you're looking for something more thrilling, the movie Scream might be just for you. With its frightening twists and turns, this movie will have you at the edge of your seat. To wrap up, you can't forget about a movie that gives you nightmares. Halloween is a film released in 1978. Stars a man named Michael Myers who murders everyone in his path. Scary, right? Would give you guys more details. However, no one likes spoilers. If you have not watched these yet, all these movies are available for some of your favorite streaming platforms like Disney+, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime Video. In honor of Grand Theft Auto's 20th anniversary, the project titled Grand Theft Auto: The Trilogy Definitive Edition is coming to current-gen consoles. It will feature an across-the-board upgrade in graphic improvements and gameplay enhancements, all while sticking to its classic looks and feels of the originals. The trilogy will consist of the 3 best-selling and most controversial video games of early 2000s. The trilogy is planned to be released later this year on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, S, and Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and Rockstar Game Launcher on PC. Releases for iOS and Android devices are planned for sometime in early 2022. Escaping reality may seem difficult, but never impossible. Get ready to journey to another world with Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf and His Extreme is an American art and entertainment company known for its immersive and interactive exhibits filled with fantasy and wonder. This psychedelic playground includes 70+ installations, rooms, and portals created by a team of artists who specialize in graphic design, writing, fabrication, painting, sculpting, and music. Talents from all over the artistic spectrum band together to collaborate and bring their wildest dreams to life. The Convergence Station is open to all ages and can explore Thursday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. All right, everyone, looks like that's all of the time we have for EMED today. Thank you for tuning in, stay up, and I'll see you next time.
Well, today was a little chilly getting here to work. How are you doing today?
It was really hard one part to wake up too. I'm not used to the chilly weather, but you got any plans for the weekend?
I do actually. I'm going to go down to Colorado Springs and get a look at the fall weather in Garden of the Gods. What about you?
Not much. Just hanging out with some friends this Saturday and hoping that it doesn't snow.
Well, hope you have an amazing weekend.
Thank you. Well, that's all we have for today. But make sure to visit our website at mamedmedia.com